So in these videos we'll be taking a look at Beat Detective. Now this has a number of different capabilities, but we'll start with the most obvious one, and that's fixing the timing of some drums. I've got some issues with these drums here. If I clear everything else out of the way, we can hear what's going on. Let me select all the tracks that aren't drums. There we go. And if I scroll down and hold Option and Shift, this will now allow me to mute all the selected tracks. So that's got rid of the guitars, the bass, the vocals and so on. Next I'll select all the tracks that I'm interested in playing with, and that's going to be everything between here and here apart from these two. And if I click now on tracks, I have the option of show only selected tracks, which just gets everything out of my way. I'll need a click track, so we'll go track, create click track, and let's give this a listen and see what the problems might be. Let's turn the click track on first. That's the 7 numeric keypad. There's a couple of flams here and there where you can hear a note has been triggered slightly before the kick. You can see where, just here for example. Now let's open up the Beat Detective window. Now most of the windows you'll find under Window, but Beat Detective oddly enough appears under Event, and here it is, Command 8. So before you really do much with Beat Detective, you need to capture your selection, and this is telling it which range of timeline you're actually going to be dealing with. I've already got bar 13 to 17 selected. I did this while I was in grid mode, so it's pretty accurate. So I'll click Capture Selection, and now it knows exactly what it's supposed to be dealing with, and I'm only going to be dealing with 16th notes on here. Next I'm going to select my kick and snare. Now I have two kicks, so I'm just going to move this one out of the way so I can see the kick and snare that I'm concerned with up here. I'll press the E button for explode so I can see them both reasonably clearly. Okay. Now I have both tracks selected, so if I now analyze the data, this will look at both of them to figure out exactly where what will eventually become slice points will be placed. Let's click Analyze. I could tweak the detection mode to collection and normal, we'll see that in a moment, but I can also choose high emphasis or low emphasis. This is talking about high or low frequency content. Note that it hasn't found anything just here. If I turn up this slider, we might see, oh there he is, turn it down, it spotted it. Now this is a sign that Beat Detective's getting a little bit confused by trying to analyze two tracks with the same settings and they're totally dissimilar sounds. And this really brings in the point of our collection mode. So let me unselect the snare part, and I'm going to do this from the track list. Hold Shift and click, Command and click, and as you can see I've unselected the snare. I'm now going to reanalyze the kick. You can see that point has come in straight away. I don't have this one, I'm going to need to put it to sub beats for this, but I can now tweak my sensitivity so elements like this, and this is the leakage of a snare coming through, don't trigger any slice points. So let's bring this down until that goes away. It can be a little bit tricky. Notice that here I'm adding a slice point just here, but I'm actually also adding one there at the same time. Now this is where you can hold the Option key and click and remove these, so you can manually adjust them. Next I'm going to go to my collection mode, and I'd like to add all those markers that I just made to my collection. Here we are. Okay, now I'm going to go down to my snare part. I'm going to press semicolon, which moves my edit selection down a track. I'll have to move this back up. And you can see all of these lines are to do with what the snare drum was doing. The kick drum was doing. So let's go back to normal mode. Let's analyze this again. And let's tweak this until we just get snare hits. As you can see, it wasn't far off already. If I go back to collection mode, and I'm going to hold Shift and P, which will extend my selection to both tracks, and choose Add Unique, this is going to make those snare hits that I got a moment ago add to what's currently on the screen. And you can see I've now got all of the slice points I'm going to need in one go. Next, I'm going to need to actually add this selection to the rest of my drums. Now, if I zoom out for a moment, I'll press the E key. I can do this in several ways. I can command click on the names. So let's add the kick, the drummer's ear, hats, floor toms, not that there's anything there at the moment, and these. So you can now see Beat Detective is across all of these tracks in one go. I could have also done this from the groups. Next, go to my clip separation page. Now what this will do when I press separate is make slices on all of the drums at exactly the same points. So, separate. Now the slices, if you remember, were based upon the selections we made detecting on these two tracks. Next, let's go to conform. Now conform is where I actually decide how I'm going to, in this case here, quantize my audio. Now under standard, I can tweak its strength or exclude within. Exclude within would mean that it's not going to bother quantizing it if it's quite close. You can decide what percentage that closeness is. You could quantize to a swing. Strength, does it move it all the way to where you want, or does it just move it a percentage of that way? This would allow you to maintain some kind of groove. Or you can actually go for a groove template, and there's a whole bunch of Logic, MPC, Cubase, and some I created on other days here. I'm going to go for a standard quantize for this though. As soon as I hit conform, it will move all of these clips to exact beat positions. Let's give this a listen. There will be some problems. Let's hear that without the click track. That gave you an idea that everything's now in time, but you'll hear more clearly now the problems with those slices and those little gaps that it's left. And that's what edit smoothing is for. I could decide to fill the gaps, or if I really want to be accurate with this, I can fill and crossfade. Now when I press smooth, it should hopefully make it far less obvious what I've just done. Now that's okay, but it's not perfect. Let me move Beat Detective out of the way and make my tracks a little larger. And I'll even zoom in a little bit closer. Some of the hits, as you can see here, they appear to have the very attack slightly sliced off. This will be far more prominent with the tracks down here that we didn't use to create our triggers. Now to fix this, the easiest way to do it is to go to drums, regroup them, and if I now pull this back a little bit further, making sure of course I move to slip mode first, I can now just add that little bit of air in front of the snare in that case there. I'll turn off tab to transient, and I can now use the tab key to go through and see each of these little possible problems. Now if you want the best results from Pro Tools, this is probably going to be the best way to do it. Another way to go forward, by the way, hold the Option key and press page down, and this now tabs the whole screen forwards. Yes, it's time consuming, but it's definitely going to be worthwhile if you want to get things, well, correct. Look at this kick here, that's going to be quite nasty. It's probably one of those clicks I heard earlier. You can see that this slice point here has actually got a sync point in it. Now there's another way we can kind of automatically avoid this in Beat Detective, and that is in my clip separation I can put in a trigger pad. Now the trigger pad I can put at something like 10 milliseconds, and then my slices will be made 10 milliseconds before the actual detected trigger. And you can already see that it's not just the clip start when the slice is made that's placed in one point. We've just seen sync points, and it's the sync point that will be quantized to the new position. Now, doing anything like this automatically rather than manually going through and checking it's okay, it's going to give you, well, varying results depending on your luck of the day. But it's something that I should definitely consider if you're in a hurry. Now let's zoom back out again. I set a screen set 1 of all my drums visible, and let's make these drums small again so I can see them all at once. If I was to now want to copy and paste my drum parts to another section of the song, it's going to be a little bit awkward because I'm going to be dragging individual hits. So back in grid mode for a moment so I can easily make this accurate selection. I'm now going to create what's called a clip group. Now we'll see these in detail in a later video. We can see here we have clip group, Option Command G, and this has turned them into, well, a single object that you can cut, copy, paste and move around, much like we saw in one of our last videos about consolidating. However, if you've just grouped your clips together rather than consolidated, you can either go to your clip menu and choose Ungroup, or you can right click with the grabber tool and choose Ungroup. So you can go in and fine tune things if you need to. Let's redo that clip group with the Z key. Okay, in the next video we'll be looking at some of the other capabilities of Beat Detective.